Hey, what is up, nerds, geeks, and collectors alike? Today we are taking a look at the Marvel Legends Infinity Saga, Avengers Endgame, Iron Man, Mark 85, and Thanos 2-pack. And I gotta say, out of all of the Infinity Saga figures, this 2-pack is actually one that I'm very excited for. So taking a close look at the packaging, here we have Iron Man, as you can see here with his accessories, and here we have Thanos at the side. It says Iron Man, Mark 85, and Thanos. We have the Avengers Endgame logo, the Infinity Saga logo. And as you can see, I got this from my local Toys R Us. And yes, Toys R Us is actually alive and well here in Asia. At the side, we have the Infinity Saga and an artwork of the culmination of films for the Infinity Saga. And at the back here, we have a read-up for Iron Man and Thanos. And of course, we have the Avengers Endgame logo right here, as you can see. And at the side here, we have once more the artwork for the Infinity Saga, this time on the other side, looking very, very good. And at the top here, we have Avengers Endgame, Iron Man Mark 85, and Thanos. And let's wait for it to focus. There we go. And not much more up the top, and here at the bottom not much more except for the legal mumbo jumbo as well as the UPC. Now let's get these guys out of the packaging. And here we have Iron Man and Thanos in their snappy poses as well as their accessories. But first, let's take a look at their accessories before we take a look at the figures. Here we have the Nano Gauntlet with the Infinity Stones that Thanos wields for a brief time in the movie during his confrontation with Captain Marvel. And here we have the gauntlet from the Professor Hulk wave. As you can see here, the Professor Hulk has more pain applications. I wish that was the case for this one as well. One of my problems is the Reality Stone, where as you can see here with the Professor Hulk one, it had a silver outlining, so you see the stones, while on the Thanos one, you can't really see the Reality Stone since it's red plastic. But then again, not a complete deal breaker. Let's just remove the snapping finger and you just pop this off in a typical Marvel Legends fashion, and you switch it with the closed fist. There you go. It looks pretty cool. Then again, the Infinity Stones, I wish the gauntlet had more paint applications in order for us to distinguish which one is the stones and which one is the Nano Gauntlet, especially for the Reality Stone, which is red. And once more, let's just pop this off, and let's actually try the Professor Hulk one. The one from, as you can see, Professor the Hulk tabs are different. But you can already notice Professor that Hulk the pegs are somewhat thicker, different. While the Thanos one is longer, while the closed fist for Thanos Professor Hulk actually is longer. And let's try it here, and you doesn't seem to fit. You can't really the tab in without damaging the peg system. It's just too thick. It might end up breaking, so if we really force it. If you really want to fit, I don't want to deform gauntlet, the hand, the socket, since you won't be able to fit the snapping finger as well if you do sacrifice it for the Professor Hulk one. And as you can see here, he does not have the Infinity Stones. This is where he snaps, while Iron Man steals the Infinity Stones right from the gauntlet. And as you can see here, he's doing a snap. It's just made of red plastic, but it is sculpted beautifully. Unfortunately, we do not have paint applications to highlight those details, but nonetheless, you can make out that this is a snapping finger. And now let's just put this aside, and this accessory as well. And here we have 3 different head sculpts that includes for Thanos, one neutral face, one with a helmet and a grin, and one with a smiley. First, let's take a look at the neutral face. Here we have a pretty good sculpt and paint apps for Thanos. And here we have the one with the helmet and an angry face. As you can see, is fighting off the Marvel Avengers Trinity, which is Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. I like this one. I personally like this one. This is my personal favorite. And here we have a smirking face. Here we have Thanos presumably giving a speech about how is right and we're wrong, as you can see. And to switch the head, we actually also have the one that is equipped with the body in the packaging is a dusted face, where Iron Man snaps his finger and Thanos is turned to dust. As you can see, he has some battle damage here on his nose, on his lip. As you can see, he has some wounds right there. That's actually a pretty good attention to detail. And as you can see, his head is fading away, it's dusting away. It's just a very cool effect. I think Hasbro pulled this one off pretty good. And to switch the head, you just pop it off and you just replace it with another head in a typical Marvel Legends fashion. And here we have Thanos with his neutral face. Very cool. I like this one. But my personal favorite is the helmet. But as you can see here, there's actually a pretty good amount of paint and sculpting with this guy. I really like the head sculpts that Hasbro has been producing. And here we have the one, my personal favorite, the one with the angry face and the helmet. I like this one. I'm glad that Hasbro gave us the option of having Thanos with his helmet. And let's then put the smirking face, the smug Thanos. I am inevitable, he says. And that's actually pretty good. I like this one as well. But I am going to display him with the helmet. And it looks pretty good. And I'm really happy that this is my first official Build-A-Figure. Well, technically I didn't build this since it was already assembled in packaging, but you know what I mean. I personally think this is the best figure form representation that we got for Thanos' blade. And I like to think this came from the Thanos copter, if you know what I mean. If you've read the comics before, the older ones, he had a helicopter, and a lot of jokes were made about this being the propellers. So I think this is a pretty good figure form representation of the blade that Thanos uses against the Avengers in Endgame. And in order for Thanos to wield this, you just slide it into his hand right here. And take note, there's no alternate hands for this hand. And let's just open it, because I haven't displayed him or even tried to actually make Thanos wield this. This is actually the first time on camera. That's why it's such a pain. There we go. And here we have him wielding his blade. I like it. Let's remove this and armor him up. And snap. There we go. This looks very cool. I really love this look for Thanos. I'm really happy that this is my first official Thanos figure. Well, technically my first officially licensed Thanos figure is the one from Hero Vision, but I'm happy that this is my first Marvel Legends Thanos. And as you can see, we've already taken a look at the head sculpt. You can see his armor is battle damage here. I think this happened after his incursion with the Scarlet Witch, where his shoulder pieces are torn from his body, and throughout here there's just an inconsistency where the rest of his body is fine but the upper torso is damaged. And as you can see here, I know this skirt is actually a new piece which is more screen accurate than the previous Thanos figures. And as you can see here, he has this broken shoulder piece, while the other one completely does not have a armor piece whatsoever. And I do plan on getting a Build-A-Figure right hand for Thanos, for the sake of him not having the nano gauntlet entire time, and hitting this up and removing this entire arm to have a more uniform look. I think I might just replace the forearm, that is. So that's a plan of mine, but not really a priority at the moment. I'm fine with this at the moment. So yeah, and let's take a look at his posability. His head is on a ball joint, and if we just angle it here, you can actually look up that far, look down that far, as you can see here, and his head can go a full 360, as you can see here. And his arms are able to go out that far, but it is restricted by the armor, as well as the other side. He can go up and back that far. Once more, the armor restricts the posability, and he has a single jointed elbow joint, goes 90 degrees, and then a swivel, and I think he has a hinge here, if I'm not mistaken, but it is once more restricted by his armor. Same goes on this side, actually. As you can see, restricted once more, back and forth, a 90-degree bend, and then a swivel and a hinge right here. And that's for the upper part. He can crunch that far and back that far. For Thanos, as you can see, the details are actually pretty good, and for his body is actually very hefty. I like this. Once more, the skirt piece, the armor, will restrict posability. His feet can go out that far and back that far, only by a little, and his split very moderately, but once more, the side pieces of his armor is restricting him. He has a double jointed knee, which does a pretty good job at being a double jointed knee, and he has some back and forth, and he has some pivot. And what's actually interesting is that he has a upper ankle joint, which is a very fun discovery for me. So that's about it for the entirety of the Thanos figure. I'm really glad that this is the Thanos, my very first Thanos figure. Now moving on to Iron Man here. Let's start with the head sculpts. As you can see, we have the best RDJ head in my book. I really like this RDJ head sculpt, and as you can see, this really captures Robert Downey Jr. very well. As you can see here, let's just wait for the camera to focus. You see the details. I really like this. And the Iron Man head sculpt, as you can see here, once again, very cool. I like this one. He has that dumbbell joint, which shows a bit of a gap at the back, but nonetheless, these are painted and sculpted very nicely all together. And here we have the side, and moving on, we have a Robert Downey Jr. This one is a battle damage version of Robert Downey Jr. And surprisingly enough, this is actually an entire different sculpt. Well, the overall sculpt is the same. Of course, its purpose is to capture the likeness of Robert Downey Jr. But as you can see here, he has some sort of a open mouth, while this one has a closed mouth. You can see the teeth right there with the battle damage version. So aside from the additional paint you get from the battle damage, you get a different expression. It's a small attention to detail, but one that is very appreciated. In my book, I really appreciate the effort with that. And as you can see here, you have to actually change the neck piece with this one. I think this is the very first Marvel Legends figure to ever do that, where you had to change the entire head and neck piece in order to switch the heads. And here's the Iron Man head this time, and there we go. It just slots right into place. I like the fact that blends in properly. Like it looks seamless. I really like that. Like it appears to be a sculpt, but it's actually a seam for you to switch the head, and that is really pristine. That gives us a seamless figure. I like that. So I think I'll be keeping Iron Man with his helmet on. So putting him aside, let's take a look at the accessories. This one is actually a new accessory, while this one is very similar from the Infinity War 2-pack. But nonetheless, I like the accessories that he comes with. And as you can see here, he has the double blades that he uses against Thanos right here. Like this. This is actually made of a bendy plastic overall, and the blue. And for him to hold it, he has this grabby hand where you just slot this into place. And once more, this is actually the first time I'm actually doing this. That's why the hands are a little stiff. And just fit this right here. And there you have Iron Man wielding his blade. There you go. I like how it looks, personally. I like the blue energy beams that serve as the blade. As you can see how he uses this in the movie. I'm personally a big fan of that. I like the new accessory that this comes with, though I hope he would have came with the one that Thor hits him with in order to amplify his repulsors. But nonetheless, it's a pretty cool accessory. And here, and one of the problems I've encountered with this figure is that he is very difficult to stand up for some reason. And here we have the energy shield. So you can see it's very similar from the one from Infinity War. Let me just get it here. Here it is. And as you can see, it's the same shield, but this time it's made of a translucent blue, while this one from Infinity War, it's a solid red with gold paint. And there it goes. And as you can see here, not much difference, just different plastic for the purpose of it being different. So you just slot this into his hand right here, as you can see, and there he has it. And we have Iron Man with his energy shield. And from what I know, this isn't how he actually wields it. Like, he holds it with his hand, the actual shield he uses in the movie, but this is a good substitution. Personally, I have no problem with this shield, but I won't be using this one. But let's try him double wielding the shields, and that actually looks great. I like this. I like this one. You have one that's made of nanotech and one that is made with energy, and it's actually pretty cool. But as you can see here, the red is actually different. So as much as it matches each other, there's a little off with the red. So that's something, if you want to do it, something you can expect, that there's a different shade of red. And moving on to the hands, Iron Man comes with two fists, as you can see here. His closed fist for punching stuff, and he comes with repulsor hands, and these repulsor hands actually have hinges, and he includes two blast effects, something we've seen 1,000 times with Marvel Legends, especially with Iron Man figures. But then again, it's nice to have them since he does have two repulsor hands. And he also includes one that has a snappy hand with the Infinity Stones. So you have the option to recreate the iconic and final scene of Avengers Endgame where he goes, I am Iron Man, and then the grabby hand. So basically, in a typical Marvel Legends fashion, you just rip off the hand and you just replace it with the one you want. So let's do this with one with the fist and one with a repulsor hand. Since the posability, the articulation, I mean, with this figure is actually the same with all of them. So whatever one hand can do, the other six can also do. And just position his hand right there and slot the blast effect just like so. See, he looks very cool, and there you go. And I think I prefer this one over the previous version, the one from the Brothor wave. And I am aware that I did say that the Nano Gauntlet came for Professor Hulk. So if there was any confusion earlier, this is me clearing it up. The Nano Gauntlet is for Professor Hulk, while the previous Iron Man came from the Brothor wave. So let's take a closer look at the figure. Here we have a more screen accurate Mark 85 Iron Man. As you can see, I like what they did with the chest this time, where they put an outline of blue where the previous one was just white, and I like the overall red and gold that this figure has, as well as the black layout. And here we have the previous figure. As you can see, the silver here on the older one is more vibrant, so you can actually see the details more, and on the head sculpt you can see the black line on the mouth. For some reason, oops, there he goes. Once more, I did say that I find it difficult to stand him up for some reason than the previous one, but going back, for some reason the older one stands out more. The colors are more vibrant, but I think I might go with the newer version here. There's actually, I don't know, I honestly don't know why the older one is more vibrant for some reason. It's hard to explain, but I know you see it. The older one is more vibrant, but for some reason the newer one is how do I explain this? I'm completely lost for words. There is a difference between the two of them, but they're unique in their own way. So I really like the two of them. I like having the two of them, but I might let go of the previous version and keep the newer version. So yeah. And once more, the arc reactor, as you can see here, the previous one just white, and this one has blue in the corners. And at the back, I think the previous one has more paint apps, but I think the newer one is more screen accurate, so it's not really a deal breaker for this one. And as you can see here, I honestly don't know which one I prefer. I think I'm gonna go more with the accurate one on the back here. I'm hoping this won't fall. I'm trying my best, and as you can see there, I'm trying to pose them in a natural pose, but the legs for the newer one are spread apart for some reason. I'm trying to stand him up properly, but moving on, let's discuss about that in the posability. Iron Man can look up that far, but then again, a gap because of the double dumbbell joint. He can go 360 with his head, since again it is a ball joint, so you already know what it is. And his shoulders can actually go up, and wait, that's weird. So he has this red paint, the one on the side of his thighs. You can't see it that much, since then again it's red paint on red plastic, so not a deal breaker. And his arm can go up that far, does a 360. He has a bicep swivel right here. Let's just get this out. As you can see, he has a bicep swivel. You can also go 360 if you like. A double jointed elbow, as you can see right there. And he has a swivel and a hinge on the wrist. And that goes the same for the other hands. And his upper torso can rotate that far. He barely crunches, but he can go back that far, and as you can see, there are more details underneath. And he can kick that far up and move his feet that far back. And this is what I've been saying earlier. As you can see at the top of the thigh swivel, that's actually red plastic, while the one below is red painted. So on the camera it's not that different, but in person there's actually a difference when it comes to the shade. But then again, not a deal breaker, as you can see right there. And here we have the upper thigh cut up here. Can do a 360, but I am worrisome of this one since the previous version I have just snapped out of nowhere. I don't know why. And he has a double jointed knee. He has a can go down and then back up, and then he has a pivot at the ankle. Same goes on the other side. So that's about it for the posability and articulation of Iron Man. So let's get these guys back together for a size comparison. As you can see, Iron Man stands about 6.5 inches, which is the Marvel Legends standard. Thanos stands roughly a little above 8 inches. So he is a Build-A-Figure after all. Well, technically he is a Build-A-Figure. So he is taller, which he should be, just like in the movies. And here we have worthy Captain America for size comparison. And I'm only one figure away from completing the initiation of the battle on Avengers compound. I need the Infinity Saga Thor, and let's add the Civil War Captain America for scale. And then here we have the Iron Man Civil War Iron Man from the 3-pack. These two are actually what I usually use for size comparisons when it comes to Marvel Legends, as you can see here. And I think Civil War Iron Man stands the same height as Endgame Mark 85 Iron Man, and Captain America stands about 6 inches right here. Same goes with the Civil War, so I think that's a very similar scale. So that's about it for the size comparisons. To finalize my thoughts on these figures, I think I really like these figures. I think this version of Iron Man is superior to his previous version, the Mark 85 from the Bro Thor wave. I was actually very excited when they announced this, since I was planning to replace my Mark 85 Iron Man, since the upper thigh on the right leg broke for some reason. I don't know why. I was just posing the figure, I picked it up to play with it, then it just snapped, just like that, which left me confused and heartbroken at the time. So this one is actually a more superior design and paint from the previous one. Not to mention it comes with additional accessories and alternate heads. So I was very happy to consider and pick this up. And for Thanos, I think sooner or later I did consider of getting a Thanos. So this 2-pack is actually very perfect for me. And not to mention that this Thanos includes a wide array of accessories, especially when it comes to his head sculpts, his facial expressions. I like what Hasbro did with it, so I'm really happy to have this version of Thanos. And I do plan, like I said, of getting the right hand Build-A-Figure to replace the one to have a generic Thanos without any Nano Gauntlet or Infinity Gauntlet. So I think I'm very happy with this version, despite the battle damage, which I know many people prefer the one with the armor. With the armor, that's fine, but for me, not a major deal breaker. I'm fine with this version. I just, like I said, get another right hand in order to get a generic Thanos. And I am one figure away from getting the figures I actually want, which is the Endgame Holy Marvel Trinity. And not to mention that this version of Thanos actually comes with a snappy finger with the Nano Gauntlet and the dusted away face. I think that's the highlight for me, the dusted Thanos head sculpt. Despite the helmeted one being my favorite out of all the head sculpts, I think the dusted away Thanos head sculpt holds a special place to my heart. Another reason is this is the most accurate blade we actually get for Thanos. So if you plan on getting definitive versions of these two iconic characters, I suggest you go for this 2-pack, since you also get alternate heads of Robert Downey. And for Thanos, if you don't like the battle damage, my suggestion is you still get this for the sake of the accessories, and just get build-a-figure pieces, right hand, chest, and left hand if you really want a Thanos with no battle damage. But do note, I already saw what it looks like, so there is some inconsistencies with the paint, since you know Hasbro, they like using different shades of paint for the sake of saying this figure is different from the previous one that they released. And that sums it up. That's my thoughts with this 2-pack. So I really suggest you get this. And till next time, see ya.